Warning: Kingdom Death contains mature content, be it in its story themes and or its images. While while videos involving Kingdom Death Monster may not contain specifically mature content in them, the game does, and thus, if these videos generate interest for it, you've been warned that that is what it will lead to. If this does not bother you, please enjoy the video. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to this board game overview video for Kingdom Death Monsters Innovation Deck. In this video, I will be covering the individual cards and my thoughts on them, including some tips or advice and what they generally do, not just what they say they do, but also how they affect some of the other things in the game. Now, mind you, most of those things I will go over in more detail when they're actually mentioned in where they come up, such as the hunt events. I do this tree by tree, and if you want to jump to a certain tree, please check the timestamps here. Regardless, I cover all 6 of the basic trees based on the 6 that you get after language, but I do not cover principles, as that will be its own video, or fight game specific or time sensitive innovations, such as the ones that you gain at Lantern Year 20, or the guidepost, which is gained from something else specific. But everything else that's covered in here, expect spoilers for, including certain fights that they affect, especially stuff like Forbidden Dance or drums. But otherwise, that's all. So let's get to this.
First off, of course, we're going to start with language, as it is the beginning of the innovation deck. While I went over this in my prologue video, might as well go over it again. This is, as it's listed, starting innovation in survival +1 and gains encourage, aka you can stand other people up. Keep in mind, encourage stands everybody up if you use encourage and have rawhide drums. And then it adds the language consequences, which are the beginning of each of the 6 trees. First up being Ammonia. So, the Ammonia tree has mainly to do with a lot of crafting, but it also has some survivability kind of things. I don't mean like survival, I mean things to help you live through things. The key one being plague. This makes plague tolerable. Without Ammonia, plague is basically you're screwed. With Ammonia, and without Bloodletting, which comes after Ammonia, it effectively results in you just potentially lose all your endeavors for that year. Oh no. So, it gives you a +1 starting survival and allows you to make various things, including leather. I'll get into those more when I get to those locations. Next up is Bloodletting, one of the things added from Ammonia. It is science. Woo! I'm not going to cover that in all of those. I'm just actually pointing it out. Because there are some that are like science, education, I think storytelling, and sometimes they'll get bonuses or negatives based on settlement events, like the one where everybody starts talking in random languages. Unless you get the top result, it cancels, I think, all education and science and things. On top of the fact that this comes with a lot of healing kind of stuff, like affects other things, including, like I just said with Ammonia, plague, it gives you the endeavor action of breathing the vein. 1 through 3, gain an understanding, lose all survival. This is great to use on somebody who's either got to skip the hunt or you're not willing to send out yet, i.e. their survival doesn't matter. 4 through 7, in syncope, or however you pronounce that, gain +3 insanity. Whoa. It's okay, but not great. And 8+, the real reason you do this. 6 insanity, that's the side bonus, and either removed 1 disorder of your choice, or 1 of 2 severe injuries if you have them. The disorder can be great. Then we have, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, as Lantern reminds me, Ammonia can be gained for free if you have 3+ understanding when a certain white line event comes up. And I mention that because Lantern Oven can be gained for free. There is a hunt event where you can get it for free, but also year 5, you will get it for free if you don't have it. So keep that in mind when it's an option. It gives you the ability of heat, which lets you craft more things. Again, this is a lot of crafting, and gives you +1 departing survival. Then we have cooking, the only, to my knowledge, constant extra endeavor. Doesn't matter what else you do, just +1 endeavor. And results in survival limit +1. The cooking event, which is remove bad things or increase stats permanently, or spend an organ and a bone to cook nose gruel, and you can ignore starvation. That's great if you're fighting something of a level 3. Some of them start on the starvation spot, and remember, even if you reach them, it doesn't matter. It's still starvation. They have to not be on the spot. So it can be great for that. Mind you, starvation isn't horrible, it's just annoying. Later on, that is. And then scrap smelting, we have purification. Basically, this is how you get iron. So 1, 2, you get nothing. 3 through 9, you spend 3 scrap to get an iron. Earn 10 lets you do it again. And by again, I mean you just keep doing it. So if you roll a 10, you spend 1 endeavor, and then you convert as many scraps, or 3 to 1 ratio, as you want. Also gives you the ability to build the blacksmith. Then we move on to our second tree, drums. So drums and the music tree is a lot of messing with the various events in the game, specifically Nemesis encounter special events like the Butcher and the Kingsman. I'm not going to spoil how those mess with those fights here, but I will cover those when I eventually get to those fights. But drum itself, bone beat, no roll, just automatically gain +2 insanity, +2 survival, or rhythm chaser, or synchronized strike. Both of which are great. Keep in mind, synchronized strike is useless unless another character has it. Then we have Forbidden Dance. When you use Synchronized Strike, which again gain drums, reroll miss attacks once. Now keep in mind, each player attacking with Synchronized Strike counts as a separate attack. The other player just gives a bonus, but also gives the Endeavor ability. Note, once per lifetime. 1 through 5, minus permanent 1 movement from Ruin. 6 through 9, gain a permanent evasion, as you did it perfectly. And on a 10, the real treasure here, gain the King's Step secret fighting art. Again, that has to do with the Kingsman, but I'll get to that when I get to the Kingsman. Heart Flute. This card is kind of a gamble, because on a 50-50, you just die. But it is a bonus to Synchronized Strike, which I'll get to in a second. But really, this is how you fight extra Nemesis. On a 6+, it generates a Nemesis encounter of your choice. It has to be a level higher than something you already fought. So you can't do something you haven't fought, and you can't do that level or lower. As for the Synchronized Strike, it makes it so the attack assist, so the person not attacking, may spend 1 survival to change any reaction to a failure before it would be. Now, I believe that's any reaction whatsoever, so not reflex, just any. But once per attack as well, so you can only change 1 of them. Then, Song of the Brave, one of my personal favorite things out of this tree. Song of the Brave, it lets you do something really interesting with Overwhelming Darkness, which is, during the story event, Overwhelming Darkness, each non-death survivor may select Path of the Brave, which is always the better outcome. Now, I've never gotten a clarification if you can do Path of the Brave, if you have the courage to do it, and the insanity to do the other one. I don't know if it's a choice or if it forces you to do the worst. Rule of Death would say, do the insane one. This makes it so you can do it regardless. But also, the survivors lift their voices into the darkness. On arrival, so when the showdown starts, each non-death survivor may remove 1 negative attribute token, which can be really good to counter some hunt events. Then we have Saga. Saga is basically, if you're popping out kids, this is what you want. And it's because every time you get a newborn survivor, so not gain a survivor every time a kid is born, +2 courage, +2 understanding, which is 3 if you have graves, and +2 hunt XP, meaning they can already start with a specialization. Now, on to our next tree, we have Hobble. Hobble has to do with a lot of manipulating the survival capabilities and recovering, but also has to do with some survival-based things out in the wild, so out during the hunt events. Hobble is probably one of the best simple, like non-gain a bonus thing starting of a tree, because it is both a survival limit and a departing survival. It also lets you have saviors, which I'll go over that some other time. Bed, which also messes with intimacy, as I believe if you roll a 9, the newborn has a +1 strength, gives a +1 survival limit, and it lets you either gain an insanity on a 1 through 3 for an endeavor, or skip the next hunt and fix some things. Either all broken arms, all broken hips, all broken ribs, rupture muscle, note that doesn't say all, but I don't know if you can gain that more than once, severe injuries. Family is an interesting one. The departing survival, which kind of makes me go, okay, cool. What this does is the survivors nominated may give themselves a surname when nominated for intimacy. And basically, this is how you get weapon proficiencies without having to go out hunting. So you have a survivor who's already maxed out their proficiency, possibly retired, do this, and then that newborn gains already 4. So they've already got the specialization, not just the proficiency, and are a good chunk of the way to mastering it. Not that it matters most of the time. Clan of Death, probably my favorite from this, and a big reason to build the whole thing, is all newborn survivors gain a +1 accuracy, strength, and evasion. Stack this with Saga, and your newborns are nasty to begin with. Partnership. I don't know how I feel about partnership, honestly. It costs 2 endeavors to do, and that's just to make them partners. When they do intimacy, they must be the 2 together, and if you've got a very high survival limit, then it's good, because that's where the real benefit is. So if you've got a 12+ survival, I'd say, this might be good, but until then, it's honestly pretty iffy. Mainly because when a partner dies, the remaining partner gains a random disorder and loses this ability. And it's partnership once per lifetime, so losing it, you can't gain it again. Now, on to the next tree. Inner Lantern. This tree has to do with, from what I've seen, a lot of acknowledging the fact you're monsters and just giving in to the silliness and stupid that you can do, like all the bad things, for good. Now, first off, it gives Surge, which is always awesome, which, hey, make another action. Keep in mind, this means you can't make things that require a movement in an action, because you're not generating a movement here, and also, even if you have Dash, you must finish this before you activate Dash. That's all Inner Lantern itself does, but then it goes into Scarification, which is, once per lifetime, gain +1 courage, roll a hit die, and gain something. So, this is kind of iffy. On a 50-50, something bad happens. That being, if you roll foot, waist, or head. Now, mind you, foot is a 50-50 within itself, but you lose 1 movement. Destroy genitals on waist, and blinded on head. Now, if you roll hands, which is the best result, you get a +1 luck. And you get tough if you roll chest, which is a 2 and 6, because it's there twice, which just makes it harder to die from non-auto deaths or bleeding, of course. Then we start getting into the crazy. Shrine. May be used once per settlement phase. On 1 through 3, and departing survivors gain +1 insanity. On a 4+, which is really what you're aiming for, add 1 to all hit locations as you're making final adjustments. This then goes into the stupid crazy. Sacrifice. Sacrifice is... I'm glad this kind of stuff's in this game, but I don't really recommend it too much, because not only can you do this more than once, but Death Ritual for an endeavor. On a 1, just flat out lose 2 people. 2 through 3, the rest of these are all lose 1 person. Departing survivors gain 1 insanity. Whoop-de-doo, that's not worth a population. Grim Acceptance. Departing survivors gain 3 insanity. If you're getting rid of somebody that's completely messed up and useless, that might be worth it. And on a 6+, so 50-50, you lose all insanity and may remove 1 of your disorders. If you could not depart this settlement phase, you may now, so it gives you the ability, even if retired, which is what it says at the bottom, sorry, you can go out again. That's the only real benefit of this, is being able to send out certain people for certain things. Then we move on to paint. Paint involves a lot of messing, from what I've seen, the art tree is easier to call it as, is a lot of messing with hunt events. It gives you a lot of different things for doing so, but it also interacts with a lot of the settlement events as well, more than the others. So, first off, we get Paint, which gives, honestly, one of my personal favorite survival actions, Dash, which is generate or movement action for a survival. This is almost unnecessary if you want to take on a level 2+ White Lion, by the way. Why? I'll get into that when I get to the White Lion. Face painting is next, and for that, it gives 2 endeavor action. Laughing stock, 1 through 3, nothing happens. So nothing good, nothing bad, except the wasted endeavor. And 4+, death paint ceremony. Departing survivors gain +2 survival and +1 insanity. That's not bad on a 4+. A 2+ if lights in the sky is going on. And then founder's eye. The other endeavor action, also 1 through 3. Nothing happens. 4+, gain +1 on an intimacy story event settlement this phase. I'm going to assume, because it doesn't say on a single, or the first, this is all of them. This is great because A, if you use this, you'll never lose both people, even if you're doing survival of the fittest. And B, it makes the 11+ possible. Keep in mind, if you want saviors, you're going to need to roll that 9 instead of a 10. It's not choose. Next up, we have Pictographs. It literally lets you run away, both from during a hunt event or a showdown. That's really all it lets you do itself. It opens up a lot of other things in terms of stuff you'll come across later. It in itself is kind of because Runaway has some pretty bad side effects unless you roll a 10 on either table. Memento Mori is maybe use once per settlement phase, nominate a survivor that died in the last showdown. And it's honestly just gain things. 1, nothing. 2, gain the insanity of the dead survivor. One of the many reasons of don't get rid of character sheets just because a character's dead. Painful memory, gain the courage and understanding of the dead survivor, which can be really good if you had somebody maxed out in one or both. And profound memories, gain the hunt XP of the dead survivor. That's kind of iffy in my opinion because once you get to 2 hunt XP, I don't think it's really good to push it after that, unless you start having ways of regularly getting retired characters out. But can still be nice. Sculpture. This is one of the few things that I know is altered from 1 to 1.5, because in 1 it was kind of nasty, but also kind of useless. So sculpture is basically lose a fighting art for 1 endeavor. On another endeavor that is not once per lifetime or once per settlement phase, on a 6+, gain the recorded fighting art. So basically, you lose one character loses a fighting art, and they and any other can then, from that point on, gain that fighting art. Keep in mind, it specifically says secret fighting arts are not fighting arts. Keep in mind, that's also a clarification for future references, like gain a fighting art or lose a fighting art. Secret fighting arts are not those. And this does also unlock some random things. Pottery. Pottery can be very nice. If you beat, I can't remember if it's level 2 or 3, Screaming Antelope, and have pottery, you unlock one of the locations for free. Not that you can't unlock it, but free is nice. Gives a +1 survival limit, and these are both once per lantern year. Spend an organ, gain a love juice. Spend an herb, gain a hide. Not too bad. So if you got excess herbs or excess organs, or you don't want to roll on augury and just want to do that, go ahead. Just keep in mind, it's still an extra endeavor. Well, this wouldn't really be an extra endeavor, but this is. If you need that hide, great. But honestly, I'd rather have the herbs. Now on to our last tree, Symposium. Symposium is all about messing with the settlement phase itself in a unique way. So first off, Symposium itself is a survival limit of +1, and from your innovation cards, you'll instead draw 4. Now it says 2 additional, so anytime that, like, I know there is a way with this to draw 5 and pick 1, but whenever the survivors innovate. So it has to be the actual innovate action, not gain an innovation. You still only choose 1 though. Then, nightmare training. This is a lot of just potentially die, honestly, and gain bonuses. It is possible to just keep doing this, but it's 3 survival in the endeavor, and on an 8+, you get bonuses, weapon proficiency level, so arguably you can just up that all the way to max as soon as it's unlocked. Just never do this without 4 survival, honestly, because otherwise you're just chancing death. And notice 2 through 7 is may spend 1 survival to roll again, not spend 1 survival or something bad happens. It's if you don't want to chance it again, don't. It saves the endeavor and the 3 survival. So if you've got 2 or more, do it, especially if you have a lot of ways to gain on departure or on arrival survival, or the character's just not going out. Storytelling is a 2 endeavor that also increases the survival limit by 1. 1 through 3, game plus 1 understanding. 4 through 7, all departing survivors, game plus 3 insanity, and 8 plus white speaker. Now, that's also, again, I'll go over that with the events themselves, but it's got some interesting stuff to go with it. Let's just put it that way. And our last card, Records. Records is gain the Scholar of Death fighting art. I'll go over that when I get to fighting arts. And the ability to honestly gain benefits of messing with certain monsters you've already killed. I can't remember the exact benefits, but yeah, it ends up in some interesting stuff. Records is one of the ones I haven't played much with and have never had, as I've never had the chance to. And I do know that it screws with the potential of the Hooded Knight event in a really interesting way, including possibly just losing this innovation. Sorry, I don't have too much information on this one, but this one is kind of vague.
Alright everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope it was helpful. If it was, feel free to press the like button. If you think somebody else will enjoy this or it will be helpful for them, feel free to share this video to them. Also, if you didn't like this video, go ahead and press the dislike button, but please do leave a constructive comment as to why. And if you want to, feel free to comment in general. And if you want to see more like this, such as my other board game overview videos, model painting or unboxing videos, and anything else I might do on this channel, feel free to subscribe. Regardless, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.